Welcome back to another episode of the Amateur Hour podcast. It is Crisis Club Monday. I am your host, Jacob. Adam is back.
Hashtag more Adam in the chat.
Roman is here as well.
What's going on?
And like I said, Crisis Club Monday. I think it's my favorite episode that we film weekly. This is going to be fun. There's some bad teams going on right now. Adam, you've been licking your lips, chomping at the bit to talk about this team. Who is your Crisis Club of the week?
My Crisis Club of the week is...
Not a shocker.
Southampton.
The Crisis Club of the
Southampton playing the Premier League. My specialty, let's say. They got thrashed 9-0 at home to Leicester after getting a red card early in the game. They're currently 18th in the Premier League with 8 points. 2-6 is what they're running with right now. They've conceded a league-high 25 goals in 10 games. They did concede nine the last game, so a lot of these stats are going to be a little boosted. But
they lost 9-0. It's no fault.
Some other stats that don't really affect it. They are 0-1-4 at home this year. They have not won a game at home.
And St. Mary's is notoriously known as a good stadium.
So their 2 wins have come away. They average 0.9 goals a game, which is not good.
Not very good.
It's not good.
Especially when you have no strikers capable of scoring on a regular basis.
Especially with the next 4 games they have coming up. They have Manchester City away in the Cup.
Then
Manchester City away in the league. Everton at home. And Arsenal away. 4 tough games. Everton
are a really
picked
tough
up,
game right now.
They picked up a little bit from where they were. Arsenal, don't really know what's happening with them right now. They've dropped 4 points. So they could very easily become 2-9 and drop to last or second last or stay in 18th. Some standout players that haven't been good. They signed Che Adams in the summer from Birmingham. Yeah. He's started 6 games and has 0 goals. Danny Ings is their one anomaly. He has 4 goals across all competitions right now. Angus Gunn, their starting goalie, has played every minute, all 10 games. He has 25 goals against, 30 saves. Again, 9 of those goals against were in the last game. Still, that's 9 goals in one game. So he has 5 more saves than he does goals against, which is not pretty.
Not what you want from your...
One of their arguably their best player, James Ward-Prowse, has 900 minutes played, 1 goal, 0 assist. As a somewhat creative footballer.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy who takes set pieces especially.
Exactly, set pieces.
1 assist.
And I think the only question for me to ask right now is Ralph Hasenhüttl leading the sack race. Especially losing 9-0 at home and refunding the crowd for tickets.
That was pretty funny when I saw that.
Their form isn't great.
Nope.
I know it's not been great. They lost 9-0. They tied Wolves. They lost to Chelsea 4-1. They lost to the lowly Spurs 2-1. Lost to Bournemouth. And they beat Sheffield the game before. But Man United tied them. Anyways, form hasn't been great. In terms of the sack race, you honestly gotta like his odds right now winning it. But you look at Unai Emery's Arsenal fan are calling for his head, but I mean they're in 5th. It's just 2 bad results in a row. It's not the end of the world. They'll bounce back. I mean they're in 5th. It's not that bad. It's not a bad position. I don't think he'll win. You can look at definitely Ralph Hasenhüttl. I mean he did a phenomenal job last season keeping them up. He's the reason they stayed up. Yeah. Marco Silva and Hasenhüttl for me, or even you could question Spurs. Those are Pochettino. You could question those 3.
Only not as much as he was before.
Not as much as he was before because he won the game against Norwich. But
Pochettino still got to be in there.
Pochettino's definitely still in there.
I don't know. You know what? Right now it's probably Hasenhüttl, especially 9-0 at home. That's the worst away loss in the history of First Division football in England. And it's equal to the biggest loss in Premier League history, equal with Ipswich losing 9-0 to Man United. But that was an away game for Ipswich. This was at home. That's absolutely embarrassing. Yeah.
The only thing else is it's almost January. I know it's not that close, but players to bring in January.
They brought in some players though.
They did. They sent some players. They brought Boufal back, who was on loan last year, right?
Yeah,
he's all right. He's not.
They brought in Genpo.
Yeah, he
Okay,
has 2 goals. Him and Danny Ings are the only 2 players that have more than 1 goal.
They spend money on Shea Adams, like
Who's
$15 million, which isn't.
Has he scored?
No,
Shea
he
Adams?
hasn't. What's funny is before the season started, Shea Adams in interviews talked about his ambition to win the league with Southampton with the players they currently have. I do not think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, neither do I.
Be a new shock.
I don't know what it is because right now it's evidently goals and it's evidently conceding goals. It's everything. It's not just one thing or the other. They're not scoring enough, and they are not keeping the ball out of the net enough. They have, in terms of goal scoring, looks like they're third bottom in the Premier League in terms of scoring goals. Equal or only Watford and Newcastle, and then we don't need to talk about how bad they are in front of goal. Goals against wise, they have the worst. I know they conceded 9, but I mean, at some point, at like 6-0, you gotta just
Put
bunker
6
down.
Defenders on and figure
bunker
it out.
down and no more. Like
Yeah,
especially at home, I don't really comprehend how that happened.
Something I'm surprised with is Hasselhouden hasn't given Alex McCarthy any time in goal this year. He has 0 minutes across all games. He played pretty well last year. I know he played a little bit the season before. I forget who they had at that point because they had a couple. They had Fraser Forster, right?
Yeah, but Alex McCarthy kind of took over from him. Then Angus Gunn took over.
Was injured and.
Yeah,
but
it's been a mess, their goalie situation.
I wouldn't be surprised if Alex McCarthy comes and gets some consistent game time now.
I mean,
he was up in question for England, right? He got selected a couple times, but never actually.
Yeah.
Never.
What do you do from here at 9-0? And then you gotta play Man City at the Etihad 2 times in a row.
Who the hell knows?
Where do you go? What do you do? Where do you go from here?
You got how many days apart is it? 3 days apart.
I don't know.
They play on the 29th. They play on the 2nd. So
I don't know.
4 days apart. They play Man
next.
City twice away.
They ain't looking good.
We'll move on. I'll go next to my team. Also in the Premier League, team that is under Southampton in the table, Norwich City.
Shocking.
A little bit shocking considering how positive they were at the start of the season. It was a Pookie party at the start of the year, no doubt. They came into the league. They lost to Liverpool, no shame in that. And they beat Newcastle, respectable 3-2 loss to Chelsea. Lost to West Ham, and then they beat Man City. That was a big game. That was 6-7 weeks ago now. And, I think 6 weeks ago now.
Yep.
And since that Man City win, they have played 5 games in the Premier League and have not won a single one of those games. They've only tied 1 of them. They've lost 4, tied 1 of those 5. In those 5 games, they have gone scoreless 3 times. They've only scored 2 goals, both goals being late consolations. They were down 5-0 to Aston Villa before Dermot scored, and they were down 3-0 to United when Hernandez scored very late. 2 very late goals. The Dermot one was in the 87th minute. I think the Hernandez one was the 88th, around that area. So, no goal output. Pookie hasn't scored since the Man City game. Just really poor on offense at the moment. I knew Man United scored 3 goals against Norwich. Before that game, Man United only scored more than 1 goal against Chelsea.
They also missed 2
They
pens.
also missed 2 pens, and honestly, it could have been worse than 3-0. Like, could have been like the defense was an absolute shambles. Norwich are a team who have only 11 goals so far this season. There's worse, but there's definitely better, and they've conceded 24. So without Southampton conceding 9 in 1 game, Norwich would be top of that regard. But they are second bottom in terms of goals against. So clearly something is amiss. Something's going wrong because they had such a positive start. They were like scoring for fun, but it is clearly dried up and something needs to be sorted because they didn't really look threatening against United. They had 1 chance early on with Cantwell. That's about it. And then the late goal from Hernandez, which was just due to shocking defending, if I will admit. McTominay gave the ball away and Garner missed his tackle, and then Hernandez had a tap in. But definitely crisis mode. They're 19th in the Premier League. They only have 7 points. A win would take them out of that this weekend. But to be fair to them, the upcoming schedule isn't too strenuous. It's Brighton away, Watford at home, and Everton away, which you gotta like some chances. There's points to take.
Yeah.
And Brighton is a team not too far out of reach. They're 5 points ahead. But, it's not the end of the world, but it is crisis mode at the moment. 5 losses in a row, something's got to change.
Definitely that Watford game. It's going to be... It can
a
be...
relegation 6-pointer.
It can be season changing, right?
Yeah, it could be.
One win on the trot, and then 2, 3, and you're out of relegation. You're battling mid-table, so...
Especially that one at Carroll Road as well.
Yeah.
The Watford game. That's a huge one for both teams.
Yep.
Watford, you could talk about them being a crisis club as well, but I think they're just...
Watford's just...
You could say every week they're a crisis club. It's just absolutely brutal.
The results aren't coming for Watford.
But also, just want to shout out,
week.
we'll say crisis player, Granit Xhaka, for getting booed off the field by Arsenal fans in their 2-2 draw at Crystal Palace.
Taking the jersey
He cupped his ear to kind of quite say, I can't hear you to the Arsenal fans who were
them.
booing him. He then took off his shirt, stormed down the tunnel, and the fans are calling also for his head. They would like to see Emery and Xhaka's head on sticks by the end of the week. But
that's terrible.
I'm kind of happy. I don't like Arsenal.
So I don't like Arsenal. I really love when Arsenal are up in flames like this.
Well, come on. If you have your captain doing that,
he's not a captain.
The guy's wearing.
He is a captain.
Still.
I know he's the club
captain.
captain. He was lower end. He's a lower end captain. He does not have what it takes to be a captain. He had so many red cards.
Who's the cap on Arsenal then?
No one.
That's a whole
no one.
debate.
They don't have any leaders on that team.
I don't know who you give it to.
We'll
no Mark Noble.
We'll transition into a new sport and our final crisis club of the week. Roman, who do you have for us?
It's got to be the Bears out of Chicago. Has to be, but more important.
The Bears out of Chicago.
Yes, the Bears out of Chicago, but more important, it's their offense. Their defense is not bad at all.
Their defense is
ranked
outstanding.
Their defense is ranked 7th right now.
It isn't out if you look at the scores of the games they've been losing, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the Bears are only allowing 17 points scored a game. You should be winning games like that.
They've lost 3 in a row. And
it's because they can't score. They put up 16 points only against the Broncos. They put up 3 against the Packers.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky is really not a good QB.
And they put up 16 against the Chargers. What scares me about that is when Pitt played them, Pitt put plus 20, I believe, with a third-string quarterback.
Wow, yeah. It's
and Pitt ain't good.
No, they are not. And they've been a crisis club.
Right,
yeah, you look at the draft where they took Mitch Trubisky. It's quite laughable. Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson were selected under Mitch Trubisky, who went 2nd overall.
So was Fournette.
Not only did they take Mitch Trubisky, but they traded up.
Yeah.
They traded in order to move up in the draft to draft Mitch Trubisky when they could have even waited to get him. Or even waited and taken Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. You don't need to say anything about those two MVP caliber players.
Right now, yeah. The thing with let's go into Trubisky. The guy's got a rating of 81.4.
QBR?
Yes.
That's good.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
An 81.4.
81.4 QBR?
It's not a good rating.
Are you crazy?
It's not a good rating.
81.4 is a very good QBR. Are you looking at his passing rating?
I'm looking at rating right now. It may not be QBR.
Okay, don't say it's QBR, because that would be a good QBR in the NFL.
Okay, whatever. Beyond the point, the guy has thrown 3 interceptions on the season. Not terrible, but he only has 5 TDs.
Wow. I think Daniel Jones had a game with 4 TDs to himself.
Well, again,
he's a rookie.
To go back to the Pitt game, our third string just threw 3 in one game. He's got 5. What is also alarming about Trubisky is that his longest throw on the season is 36 yards.
Wow. That is very alarming.
And he's got a completion rate of 64%, which is not terrible. It's not the best.
He's not offering you anything on offense.
Running, they're almost as bad as Le'Veon Bell. 98 attempts, 366 yards from David Montgomery. 3 TDs. Not much on rushing at all. They're okay in the wide receiver core. They got Allen Robertson for 526 yards on the season. It's pretty good.
It's Trubisky. There's a degree of talent there in the show, especially their defense. That's a formidable defense.
It's Trubisky.
Yeah.
Their defense is fine. Their defense is very good. They traded for the right pieces this year.
Mm-hmm. They've done a lot of stuff right, except
Yeah.
that 2017 draft where they took Mitch Trubisky at second.
It's not looking like the Bears are gonna get any more wins.
We talked about them making winning their NFC North.
No.
The Packers, Vikings, and Lions.
Well, no one saw the Packers.
But the Packers are
Playing
7-1. The Vikings even are 6-2.
Yeah,
and
Vikings. Yeah.
and we were talking about the Bears in this discussion at the start of the season, and clearly.
Well, it's because we thought their offense would be a little bit better than what it is. We knew their defense was going to be where it was.
Yeah.
But again, they're playing the Eagles.
Like their next few games.
Yeah, the Eagles, the Lions, the Rams, the Giants.
They're probably gonna win that game.
It would be interesting because the Lions have the second worst defense or the third worst defense in the league right now.
The Lions interdivision.
Yeah, the Lions have the second worst defense. Miami somehow has a better defense than them, rating wise, by the NFL. Yeah, it's just not looking good right now for the Bears. They're definitely in crisis.
I'm trying to find Mitch Trubisky's QBR.
Yeah, I'm
It
curious.
is not 81.1.
What is it?
81.1 would be the best in the NFL. It is not that.
Oh, son of a...
It is 35.8. It is
That's poor.
28th in the NFL out of 32 QBs to have played an NFL game this season. That is really bad. That's horrifying.
That's horrible.
Like,
Holy shit.
that's unbelievable.
Holy shit.
And guys like Dak Prescott, like the highest in the league is Dak Prescott. He's at 78.6. So I have no idea what stat you were looking at, but it was not his QBR.
I don't know what rating. My bad there.
Do your research.
Save it for the podcast.
Go ahead. But honestly, it's just their offense. The turnover ratio is +3 for them. Decent time of possession. Field goal 12 for 15.
It's
the offense. It's Trubisky.
pretty much Trubisky. I don't even constitute it down to the offense.
Well, there has been some calls.
It's Trubisky.
There has been some calls for the firing of their offensive coordinator because they think they're making the wrong calls.
Well, yeah, that's also something evidently relevant. Like they don't score at all. Like they like last let's take their last game. They lost 17-16.
To the Chargers.
They only scored 16 points. The game before they put up 25. The defense had a bad game against the Saints, 36 points. But the game before that, at the Raiders, scored only 21, lost by 3 points. Game before that, they only scored 16, but they held the Vikings to 6. So they won that game.
How the hell did they beat the Vikings? Oh, their defense.
Like they rarely exceed 20 over. They don't go past 21 points ever.
Scoring?
Like scoring. The first game they had 3.
Yeah,
The second game they had 16.
Yeah,
then they had 31. They had it there. Then they had 16, 21, 25, and 16. They only have gone past 21 twice.
Yeah.
Wait.
Wowza.
No,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
Like it's horrendous,
Yeah,
especially
they've
from the
got-
defense. The defense is carrying the workload.
Well, it's because they picked up Cleo Mack, and I can't remember if it was this season or last season that they picked up Clinton Dix, who has 2 interceptions for
I
them.
think it was this season.
Was it this season? He out of Green Bay. They can't blame their injuries. They're one of them. They only have 2 injuries.
I
in the season.
don't necessarily fault them for sticking with Trubisky for this year because it was seemingly like he was gonna work in the off season
Oh,
on improving himself, but it's ridiculous. Like you're getting Jay Cutler vibes off this guy. Like it's unbelievable.
Ooh, that's a good comparison. Jay Cutler vibes.
Like it's. I don't know. Nothing more to say on this guy.
Where do you think they finish in that division? I'm curious. I think they're dead last. I think they're dead last.
I can see them beating the Lions, but
They play the Lions twice still.
Yeah, I can see them going above the Lions, especially you can kind of work something out. Like you figure something out. You eventually with the talent you have, you figure out a way to win, and I think they will do that and will pass the Lions. I don't see them catching the Vikings or the Packers.
No, they're not touching the Vikings. The Packers and the Vikings right now are either they're fighting for the division or that first wild card spot.
Yeah,
That's what it's looking like.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's not going to be a good season. They're going to have to really make some tough decisions in the offseason on the future of Mitch Trubisky because he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
There are so many bad teams this year.
Yeah,
more than I can remember.
Like Bengals, you got the Dolphins, you got the Redskins.
The Broncos aren't good. The Jets are terrible.
Like some real bottom feeders.
The Falcons are brutal this year. So are the Bucks.
Yeah,
It's
it's yeah. It's really
the Browns are 2-5.
A lot of top heavy records.
The Browns are 2-5.
Yeah, The Browns can be. You could even put them in this.
Yeah, well, let's save
Race
it. They
clips,
may be coming in soon. The Titans could have been. The Titans just won 2 games.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening to another episode of the podcast. If you got any crisis clubs for us, maybe some that flew under the radar, you can let us know at Amateur PDC, Twitter and Instagram. Also, Amateur is on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
The YouTube videos don't always come out at the same time as the podcast come out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, but usually by the next morning those are posted. Check us out again for some more daily content coming soon.